Buckle up. We're moving out.
Hey everybody, I am here with Michael Huber. A
Yo.
while ago, at the beginning of this month, I spent some time playing Outriders. They revealed a new class, the Technomancer, and I spent some time playing that. And Huber, I think it was earlier this year that you played Outriders as well?
Or late last year. It's been a while.
Okay.
It's been a while.
So
for sure.
I thought it'd be fun to kind of compare my recent play session with what you played earlier.
Cool.
And this was my first time playing it. I'm a big fan of People Can Fly. Not a big fan, might be overselling it, I think, a little bit. I'm a fan of the games that they've worked on. I really enjoyed Bulletstorm.
Yes.
And they're making something very different than what they've made before. It's kind of like, I sometimes I think reductions can kind of hurt how people perceive a game, but really the best way that I can describe this game is Gears of War mixed with Destiny with that People Can Fly flavor. Like I do think based on what I played, that is very accurate to what the game is presenting.
Absolutely. I got the exact same vibe when I played it, Ben.
Yeah. And I'm curious because I know we're both big combat guys and how combat feels. We've spent a lot of time over the years talking about it. And I do think Outriders has some things going for it. These sessions are always awkward because I was playing with two other people that I didn't know, right? Like complete strangers. And so I was a little bit worried that it was going to be awkward, but the way combat is structured, both in terms of character progression and the levels itself, really forced co-op in a way that I super appreciate. So we were all playing the same class, and we had access to a huge array of skills, and we could switch between those skills at any time, but we were limited enough that I feel like we had to coordinate things together, where we had to have somebody that was focused on healing. And this is the only class in the game that can heal directly with their abilities. We had to have somebody that was focused on crowd control, freezing enemies. We had to have somebody that was doing, like, decay damage. And there were a lot of satisfying moments where we were coordinating together. It didn't just feel like one person could do all the work and others could help out. It's like, no, we're limited enough in what we can do that we all have to get together to take out these waves and waves of enemies.
Totally, Ben. I love that because, I feel like there was a backlash when this game came out. Everyone, people were weirdly offended by it. I remember from my preview. And nothing felt new, really, or original, but...
Sorry.
Nice. Nothing really felt brand new or original, but everything felt solid. Like, the combat was punchy, and like you were saying, just everyone having to kind of work together to bring enemies down.
Yeah.
Like, we've been here before, but it does it in a really solid, well-crafted way.
Yeah, I do actually want to circle back around to the vibe of Outriders, for lack of a better word, because I do have some criticisms, and I know maybe you don't feel them as strongly, but I want to get to just kind of the presentation of Outriders at a point. But I think there's more to talk about with the combat. You mentioned punchy, and I do think that's a good word for it. Like, you can totally tell that these people worked on Gears of War. Like, just the way that you're slamming into cover, kind of the response that weapons are giving you. Like, using the shotgun was very satisfying. All the weapons felt, again, limited but useful, which is great in a team-based game like this. The special abilities were really fun, and they're kind of taking this route with cooldowns where they're constantly refreshing, and you fight gigantic waves of enemies in this game. There's a section in my gameplay where it's basically like we're running up this hill. It's like World War II, and like we're trying to get to these bunkers, and there's just enemies on all sides, and so the waves of enemies combined with the short cooldown kind of leads to this frantic nature. And again, that franticness really encourages you to coordinate with your teammates, because you're dealing with so many dudes that you constantly need to like talk to each other to be on top with what's happening, which is really, really neat.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I used the fire class, and like you can put fire in the ground and it'll go and like it'll explode behind cover. I can remember the abilities just being like satisfying to use.
Yeah, and People Can Fly is kind of known for their ridiculousness, and I think that is present here. Like, you can just throw down this missile launcher that just shoots a barrage of missiles at somebody, and it's fun to use. Or you can just summon a rocket launcher and go nuts. That's cool. And that also carries over into enemy abilities as well. Like, some of the stronger enemies will summon these portals, and they'll kind of slowly suck you in. And if you get sucked in, you get teleported to another part of the map. And so when you're trying to coordinate with your teammates, it's really disorienting in a good way when you kind of get sucked through one of these things. And you're like, wait, where am I?
That's fun. Yeah. That's really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. And there's another one that makes me think of Diablo 3, where they just kind of put down these like rotating beams that you have to avoid.
Oh my god, those things.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on visually, and there is a snappiness to it. Again, I think punchy is a good word, and I like the way the skill tree is handled. I don't know if you got to look at the skill tree at all.
Briefly, but it's been a while, so I forget.
It's you kind of have different paths that you can go down, but what I like about it is it's really easy to switch your skill points, but you can also kind of, like, let's say there's 3 trees, you can kind of go up one tree and then be like, oh, now I want to go down here, and then you're in the middle tree. And so it's very mixed. It's not just like, okay, I guess I picked that tree, 10 levels ago, and I'm stuck here, so I might as well keep going. Like, there does seem to be room to kind of make your own build, so to speak, which I do appreciate. But let's talk about the presentation.
Yeah.
For all, like, I think mechanically sound is what you described, and based on my time with it, I would agree. And, I got no sense of the story at all, right? And we were playing level 30 characters. I think with a vertical slice, it's hard to come down and be like, okay, like, I know how this game is going to feel, because you don't, right? It's a very extracted portion of the game. But what I will say is, like, I've been playing Destiny 2 recently, and I think there are plenty of things to criticize about Destiny 2, but something that I love about that game is there are a lot of moments where I'm just in a location and I'm in awe. Like, it just visually, it looks so distinct. The art direction is so strong that on top of shooting all these dudes, I'm enjoying being in this place. There's something alien about this place. There's something exciting about it. There's a sense of mystery. And not everything needs to be like a sci-fi fantasy thing, but in Outriders, like, it's just so visually indistinct. Like, I feel like you could watch any segment of it and think it's some other game. I wasn't excited by the places that I was running around in. I wasn't, curious. There was no X factor that was really latching onto me and pulling me in and making me excited.
Yeah, and that's probably where a lot of the early backlash came when this game was first revealed, because it was one of the earliest next-gen games shown. So in addition to combat and loot and mechanics that we've already seen, it was kind of this bland, been there, done that scenario of like, all right, these space people going to colonize this place. Just, like you said, indistinct, generic looking, just visuals in general, and just the like Space Marine people showing up. I remember I played the early stages, Ben.
Right.
And it's like we just showed up on this forest area. The forest looked fine, but it wasn't like anything too cool or crazy.
Right.
And we like roll up in these big vehicles, and it's like, all right, we gotta scout the area and set up camp. And it's like, all right, we've been here, we've done this.
When you look at what Outriders is competing against, and it's like, well, okay, this is a game that's going to have progression, that's going to make you invest in a character. It's like, I think that X factor is really important when a game is asking you to commit like that on some level, right? To make you care about that character. I think you want to also care about the world.
Way more focused on the loot and the numbers, Ben.
Right. And
which is fine.
Yeah, right. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I like the loot. I love the numbers as well. But I think it's just one of those things where there are so many games offering that sensation. that are also doing other things or attempting to
Yeah.
do other things, or maybe you're just attached to that universe for some
Yeah.
weird reason. That I think Outriders is kind of fighting this uphill battle that it wouldn't need to fight if it made more of an effort, I think, to stand out.
I agree. Well said.
Yeah. And I guess weirdly, like that's kind of all I have to say about Outriders. I had a good time playing. Like I didn't not enjoy my time. We did a bounty going after somebody named the Bloody Baron. That was fun.
Sick.
The missions that we did were suitably intense. I think that's something about a lot of these games that bothers me. Is most of the missions in some sort of like action RPGs or games as service games feel like they don't really push back, and Outriders didn't really have that problem where like I really felt like I had to be on the ball when we were playing. That could just be because we were using level 30 characters in this vertical slice, but that sensation of my play session I really enjoyed.
Ben, dude, that is a great point, because I remember the boss fight I did, actually. This boss was throwing electric everywhere. These orbs were going all over the place, and you needed to be engaged. You
Yes.
couldn't fully zone out.
Yes.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah. And I love that. Like it's so annoying when you do a mission in one of these games, right? And you just feel like you completely shut off your brain. And it's like
Yeah.
like when a game has all of these mechanics, you don't really need to get engaged with them to succeed. I wasn't getting that sense from Outriders, and I do appreciate that a lot.
And that's the feeling I've had with Avengers so far, Ben.
Yeah.
Is, you know, you can draw some comparisons to kind of the looter shooter vibes of the games. I know Outriders isn't really a games as a service. Or
Yeah,
is it?
I may be using
Like-
games as a service incorrectly. I think the comparison I'm just trying to make is it has the same feeling as something
yeah.
like a Destiny.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Avengers, like, early on, you know, just a beta, but turn my brain off, you know? Whereas the early bits of Outriders I played, I really had to zone up and pay attention.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are some... One smart thing that I really enjoyed is, in terms of finding your next objective, there was this cool, like, line that you could summon. It almost felt... Yeah, like there's this cool line that you could summon where basically it's just like, oh, it just shows up in the world. It's like I'm not constantly having to look at a map, right?
Nice.
Like I am engaged. I can just summon this thing. If I get lost, this line occurs in the world and I can follow it very easily. And so that's
Reminds
that's
me
a good
of
solution.
Reminds me of Dead Space.
I was going to say Dead Space. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love that. Did you get to go to any towns or anything? I remember I went
Yeah.
to kind of this like rusty town, and it seemed fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I did. That's kind of the thing with this game is like, yeah,
Everything is fine.
there's a hub area and there are vendors and stuff, but
Yeah.
there was nothing. There was nothing that immediately jumped out at me or felt super exciting. It was just like, yeah, there's a hub where you can buy stuff and talk to people.
Yep.
But I don't really have a lot that's coming to mind in terms of a description.
And that's where we are with Outriders.
That's
I
where
guess.
we are with Outriders, I guess.
You kind of know if you're in, and you know if you're out.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm curious once more people get their hands on it, what they say and you know, if there's elements of that game that kind of haven't come to light yet.
Yeah, some like end game stuff
Yeah.
or how they handle that. Because I'm in. I play a lot of video games like you, Ben, and I love this kind of genre. I love co-op. I love shooters. I love loot. So, you know, but it really hinges on if my friends play this game.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I'm personally down, but I'm gonna need somebody else to also be involved and invested for me to want to commit to the grind.
Right, and I think you're so right, because games like having a game that's just kind of an excuse to hang out can be a blast. But
Yeah.
those games, in order to get your friends on board, they need a really strong hook on some
Yes.
level. There needs to be that like elevator pitch thing where you can just simply explain to your buddy, this is why you should play this. And I'm not sure Outriders has that elevator pitch. And I'm not, like, I played it for hours, and I'm still not sure what I would say to somebody to get them excited about it. That's where we are with Outriders.
Sweet.
All right. Yep. If you have any more to say, I don't want to cut you off, but...
No, I got nothing.
Okay. All right. See ya.
See ya.
We shall see victory! A great new altar fights at our side. Together, we shall